Okay, I'm Luke. This is Nathan. Nathan.
Hello.
So let's jump into it. So I know the answers to some of these because I've known you before this. So tell us about your prior career before software.
Yeah, I'm actually coming from a background in education. So I was a math teacher prior to wanting to make the move and career transition.
And I'm sorry, did you say how long you were a math teacher?
Um, I taught for 2 years. They were kind of separated 2 years, but cumulatively it was 2 years.
Okay, and then to get into teaching, you got an undergrad degree.
Yeah, I had an undergrad degree in mathematics.
Okay, cool, cool. So you were brainy beforehand.
In ways differently than other people, sure.
Cool. So how did you train up to get into software? Like, what was the training you went through?
Yeah, I actually started by trying to self-learn while I was still teaching. I found like this free online curriculum called the Odin Project. And so I was slowly working through that after I'd get home from work. But I realized like I just did not have the time that I wanted to invest if I was serious about making a career change. Um, so I decided to quit my job, and then the summer after I quit, I dove into a coding boot camp. I joined Parsity Coding School, which is where I met you, um, and then that was basically how I got my foot in the door.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how long, and I apologize if you already, alluded to this by talking about the dates, but how long were you self-taught before you started the booting camp? Boot camp?
Uh, I don't really remember, but I wouldn't say it was more than 2 to 3 months.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so that was while you were working and it was, at
Yeah.
night, weekends, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I just did not see it working. So yeah.
And then oh, and this is backing up a little bit, but you had not started yet, right? You just received your offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when do you start?
Monday. So from today, it'd be like 4 days.
There you go. That's so exciting. Yeah, this is the second interview of the 10 I'm hoping to do. And the last
Mhm.
person I interviewed is also starting on Monday. So that's
That's awesome.
Monday is like the start day for people.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so tell us about the boot camp. Like how long was it? What was involved?
Um, I think Parsity is kind of unique. It was a fully remote one, pretty asynchronous. Like they did have a planned out rough schedule of like what to keep pace with, but um, I don't know how strict they were with it because typically I didn't really fall behind. Um, I think according to that schedule, you finished with the curriculum part somewhere between like 3 and 4 months. And then afterwards, there was like a capstone project that I thought you only had 2 weeks to do, but I think it was actually like an indefinite amount of time. um, and then you finish the project. There's like a little section on um, like career stuff, like setting up a LinkedIn account, um, making a resume and a cover letter template. And then once those gets approved, you're technically graduated. For me, that process took like a month, so I finished in around like 4.5 months in total, I think.
Okay. And what month did you finish up the boot camp?
I finished officially in like middle of December.
2022.
Yeah, 2022.
Um, okay. Oh, and what was the tech stack of the boot camp?
The tech stack was, what do we do? React on the front end and Node.js on the back end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And while you were in your boot camp, were you working?
I wasn't. No, it was a full-time boot camp. So
Okay. Um, and then when you graduated, like what what were you doing to try to get a job?
After I graduated, what did I do? um, Honestly, I tried everything that I could think of. I asked a lot of different people on their input and their feedback, what they think I should do, how do they think I should improve in terms of like my resume, in terms of my projects and what I should learn and whatnot. So yeah, I honestly tried a little bit of everything. Um, yeah, I think the two big things were continuing to work on my like technological skills. Because like honestly speaking, as great and helpful as Parsity was, I don't think that I was like ready to work in a company upon graduation. It certainly gave me like a good foundation um, to build upon on my own, but there's definitely a lot of more study and learning that I had to do. Um, and then after beyond that, it was a lot of uh, looking at my resume. How do I take what little I have to show and make it look somewhat impressive? um, yeah, uh, there's a lot of ups and downs in that. One of my close, actually, he's my cousin-in-law. He's an engineer at Google, and his advice was really helpful. But I kind of realized like his advice wasn't completely suitable for someone in my position, because for him it was a lot of like, cut this out, um, which works when you have stuff to fill up your resume with and you have things to take away, like remove. But it's not too helpful when you don't really have anything to put on there to begin with. So yeah, just the resume itself was a pretty big journey.
Right. A lot of iterating there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like the job you just accepted an offer for, how did you get that interview?
Um, I'm hoping this comes out. If you were to ever like upload this, it would come out after everything's all settled. um, yeah, so this was a job that I actually found through LinkedIn. And so I kind of had like two types of job applications. There's a job applications that I would keep track of, that I would like go to their company website and then go through their whole application process, and then I'll put them into like a Google Doc and then keep track of when I applied, if I had a referral, all these things. And then there were the ones on LinkedIn that had like the just like I forget what it's called, but there's a way, LinkedIn has that thing where you can apply just through like one click.
Yeah,
And then so this was actually one of those. Um,
yeah.
um, yeah. And so when I actually got an email from this company, I was so skeptical because I started getting like these spam emails saying that like I got a job offer or like I got an interview at this company that I applied for. But the thing is, like, because I didn't keep track of the companies I applied through LinkedIn, I wasn't sure if they were legitimate or not. So even when I got this email, I was like, I don't know if this is real. But yeah, so I got this. I found this job posting through LinkedIn, and I applied kind of casually through it. I found out later that one of the big reasons why they accepted or they wanted to continue on with my application was because they found my portfolio website through my LinkedIn profile, and they thought it was pretty cool. So
Okay, great. And how many applications like where you just fire off like the one click apply and then combine that number with you went
yeah,
to their website and you applied, like how many applications do you think you filled out?
I don't know the exact number for the LinkedIn stuff, but I would say total is probably around 200, give or take like 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tell me about the interview process for this job you got. Was it like several interviews, I assume?
Yeah, it was pretty long. um,
Kid banging on the door
I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. Um, so after the initial email that I got from them was actually a take-home assignment. Um, and the take-home assignment was like using these technologies that I've never heard of. But I did my best. And ultimately, I think that's what kind of got me into the next round. Um, because I found out later that they didn't really expect people to have experience with it. um, but yeah, so I had that take home assignment that was it wasn't really timed, but then they said it shouldn't really take more than a few hours. When it came to the actual coding, it definitely didn't take more than a few hours, but it took a long time to like study and learn how to do the things that I wanted to do using those weird technologies.
and
Um,
so I'm curious, is that like, did you share that with them that it took you longer than they said it should?
I don't remember. I probably did, but yeah, I guess I'll get there. So after that take-home assignment, the next interview was um, an interview with the engineer who actually made the test or made the assignment. And yeah, he just said that he knows that not a lot of people use it, so he wasn't really expecting people to be familiar with it. And so, um, in his words, he could see that through my solution, that I took the time to like try to learn it and understand what was happening. So that's what he appreciated. Um, yeah, I think in that it's a given that it did not take, a couple hours. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I am just curious because I had a similar experience and
yeah.
it took me a lot longer than they told me it should, and then I told them about it and they were like, never mind. It's yeah, interesting, but that is real cool. What was the technology?
It's There are a couple of things in there, but the big thing was this thing called Rescript.
Hmm.
And I know you're a big TypeScript guy, and I am too now. Um, but Rescript is kind of similar in the sense that it's like a language that compiles to JavaScript, um, but it's like a for developers kind of coding language where they try to catch errors before they happen and stuff. But just syntactically, it just looks totally different because TypeScript at least looks a lot closer to JavaScript. Rescript was a different thing.
It's like its own thing.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it was cool. Yeah,
So there was that interview, right? So
yeah.
it was a take home thing, and then what was after that?
So after that, they invited me out to an on-site, um, and their campus is actually pretty close to where I live, so that was nice. Um, and it was originally planned to be around like 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, um, and at the on-site, I just went through like a few rounds talking to various people at the company. Um, it was surprisingly not as technical as I was expecting. Like there were no like whiteboard questions or anything. It was just at most it was like talking about stuff on my resume. Um, and then I was supposed to meet with the CEO that same day, but we had to reschedule. Um, and then so I got word later that those interviews went well. So I had to set up another time to meet with the CEO. So I did. And then when I met him, he told me I got the job.
Wow, that is amazing. That's cool, man. And starting Monday.
Mhm.
So did you have other interviews from other, efforts? job hunting efforts?
Um, I had one interview, or I had an interview with one company. I went through a couple of rounds near the beginning of my job search in like January, so like a month into it. Um, it didn't go well, or I think it went well. I just didn't get the job. But I was feeling super optimistic because only a month in, and I was getting a job interview. And then after that, it was like 5 months of silence. And then I think 3 weeks ago is when I started getting a few more interviews. So I got this, the one that I ultimately got the offer with, and maybe like two more. Um, Actually, I guess that's not technically true. One of those companies, I did get an interview a month prior, but their email was sent to my spam folder, so I never found it. Uh,
Uh, yeah,
yeah.
HR process. Sometimes it doesn't work. So was that like, was cold applying, mixed with some targeted cold applying that was a little more intense than a one click? Was that like the extent of your job hunting efforts?
Um,
I know you said you tried lots of different things. I just like what, if there were other things, what were those?
yeah. Um, so I think the most intimidating thing about the whole job search was like networking for me. Because I think I live in the Silicon Valley, so there's a lot of people I know who are in the industry. And I kind of was like leaning on that to be uh, like my crutch when it came to networking. Um, but yeah, just in the time that we were in, a lot of these companies in the Silicon Valley just weren't hiring. And even when they were, and managed to get referrals, they just didn't actualize into interviews.
Mhm.
Um, so I did try to start networking, like reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Um, Nothing really came out of that. I don't think I had tried as hard as I could have, but yeah, that just wasn't something that worked for me. Um, I did attend a couple of like online job fairs. There was one a couple months ago for like ed tech, which was the industry that I wanted to get into, um, where a bunch of different ed tech companies were just sending representatives, and you can go and talk with them. So I did a couple of things like that, um, and again managed to get like a couple referrals, but still didn't like turn into interviews. Um, I don't really know exactly what changed between month 4 and month 5,
Right.
but yeah, I think I just got lucky with these couple of companies, or they
Mm.
took a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, and I guess, I was gonna ask about like insights that just impressions you have on, like, do you think that the reason you got interviews and then an offer at month 5 is because, things are opening back up, or do you think it was just like been putting the effort and then just something materialized and it materialized, like?
Mhm.
And one question that maybe would provide insight into that is, like, do you know people who went through Parsity with you? Have you stayed in touch with any of them? Do you know if any of them got jobs, like that sort of stuff?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've actually like chatted with them. I do keep up with them, or so, sometimes I'll like peruse their LinkedIn profiles to see if there are any updates. Uh, I know one of them did get a job. I actually don't know if it's a developer role, um, but yeah, I know one person is working now. But as far as I know, that's the only one.
Hmm.
So I don't know how big our graduating class was, maybe like 5 people. um, so yeah, right now, if it's me and the other guy, like 40% or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. As for the other question, I do think it was a bit of both. Like I do think the situation is improving subtly and slightly. But I also think that if I compare myself to how I was like 5 months ago, like I am a better engineer, but I have to be a better engineer on paper, right, in order to be able to get interviews. And so I think like iterating upon my resume and like building projects to put on there definitely made a difference. But I do think that my portfolio website probably helped too. I did get comments on it in the interviews that I've had. And just honestly speaking, like if you're going into web development, like I feel like it just kind of makes sense to have a website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you got comments about your portfolio website, what were those like? How did it stand out to those people?
I mean, one that I think it's kind of cool. If I could like show it, it would make more sense.
Can you share your screen? I don't know. Yeah, you can share your screen.
Let's see.
I have to allow it.
Probably. Yeah.
It won't let you share your screen?
It won't let me.
Oh my God. One participant at a time, multiple participants can share simultaneously. Who can share? All participants. All right, try now. If it lets. Nailed it.
Yeah. So this was my website. I was going for like I was just copying my desktop.
I was gonna say, like, I think we're seeing your desktop.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, just try to mimic a desktop environment.
Dude, that's so sick.
Yeah. So it has links to like my projects, and you can actually view them as iframes.
Huh.
It has contact and my resume.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That is a really cool portfolio site. Okay, so you got those three, desktop items there, and then what's the side menu do? Does it do anything?
So you can
On the
actually
left, the shaded, yeah, that thing. What's that do?
Yeah. Kind of what you'd expect when you have like a desktop icon like this.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow, that's neat. Yeah, it's such a, I mean, like technically that's not like a super hard thing to do, probably, right? But then,
Well,
like,
I take offense to that, Luke. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was super complex, I'm sure. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it wasn't. It's not as complicated like as it looks. I don't think it's as simple. Like it's not trivial, but yeah. Yeah. In terms of the comments, though, like it probably looks more impressive than it is, but like it's kind of what matters.
Yeah.
And so they would just kind of ask me like how things work, how did I manage state or whatever. And so just explaining that kind of, I think it just gives like a good opportunity to explain like what you know and understand.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And yeah, that's gonna stick with me as like what a creative idea. So no, the creative part of that I think is very cool. Okay, so we talked about generating interviews, other interviews you got. We talked about the interview process. In the interview process, what do you think you did well?
In the interview process. Man, I don't know. Let's see. I think a big thing is, yeah, like explaining what you understand. So, if you're doing like a technical algorithm question, like it's more important that you explain like how you're thinking than what getting the actual, solution or code to it. Um, and when people are like going through your resume and asking you about stuff, which is what I got a lot, um, they'll ask you like, um, about a technology, like I had Webpack on my resume and they started asking me like, oh, what is Webpack? Like, how does it work? How is that different from Babel and stuff like that? I wouldn't say I was like completely prepared for it, but um, yeah, like, like as a teacher, you want your students to like understand the concepts more than, the formulas. Like you don't want them to just plug things into the formulas. You want them to really understand like why these formulas work. And I think it's the same. Like the interviewers want to see that. So I think I did a good job of trying my best to show that I do understand like what's actually happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and sort of related question, why do you think you got an offer?
Um,
And if the answer is the same as as your last answer, you can also say that.
uh, I think with this specific company, it was because of that take-home assignment. Um, so basically, like um, the technologies that were used there are the technologies that um, the engineers want to like transition towards. So like that's what I'm going to be working with on the job. Um, and uh, because I demonstrated like the initiative and effort to like learn something like this, um, the guy who created the assignment and who actually is the person that I'm going to be working most closely with was probably pushing pretty hard for me. Yeah, so if you want like a generalization, I think like honestly, it just came out as a result of like just trying my best in this take home because I think I know like people have varying opinions about things like this because they don't want to do like work for free or something. But honestly, like a take home assignment is like an opportunity to show not just your coding, but like your work ethic and um, a lot of other qualities that I can't think of right now. Um,
So
and
profound.
yeah.
Thank you for that insight. Okay. So the tech stack, obviously, like they're trying to move this new technology that you didn't have any experience in, but like, and you probably don't remember exactly what the requirements were for this job listing because you filled out 200 plus applications. But do you have a feel for the tech stack that this job was made for the job requirements? How much did you have experience with?
um, I actually do, I think, remember the job posting, which is funny because I don't think it was accurate. um, it's a front end position. So uh, the job posting tech stack included stuff like TypeScript and like front end testing libraries and stuff. And so the stuff that was posted, I felt pretty comfortable with. Like I've been pretty much 100% TypeScript ever since graduating varsity. Um, but then the assignment, you know, wasn't TypeScript. And then I'm finding out that the position itself is probably going to be closer to the assignment than the job posting. Yeah. So, anyways, to answer your question, with the job posting, I felt pretty comfortable, like probably like 80% of the stuff there I've worked with. With uh, the actual job, maybe like half.
Okay, very good. So you've used front-end testing libraries?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
So stuff like Jest and Cypress and stuff.
That wasn't part of Parsity. You did that after graduating?
I think Parsity they use Mocha.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really brief. They never enforced it on anything after that.
Right.
But they did have it, yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true. Okay. All right. Well, so you haven't started yet. So that last question, what kind of work are you doing? Can't answer that one. But then also you've talked about what you think you'll be doing. Yeah. Any like last insights, things you haven't shared about the experience, or like anything you want to add?
I know you said this wasn't supposed to be a time where I'm like giving advice or anything, but if you'll humor me with one thing.
Nope, all's over.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think my advice to people trying to learn to code would be to build projects and then go back and see if you can make them better. Because I think like, yeah, the process of initially building something, you learn like how to use the technology and stuff. But I think when you go back and try to improve it, when you try to optimize it, try to make it go faster or look better or whatever, it forces you to think about, well, one, like what is considered better, and then two, like, how, yeah, like how do I make a product that is good, you know? So it makes you consider like best practices. It makes you consider things like accessibility, stuff like that, and uh, yeah, I think that's something that helped me a lot, and that's something I'd encourage a lot of people to do too.
Since you touched on it, when it comes to projects, like, can you talk about like how many projects you have, size, like how complex are they? Maybe like what do you think your most complex project is? Just hit on them.
Um, I probably have like 3 finished projects. I have a ton that I started and never finished. um, in terms of how complex, uh, I don't know how to measure that complexity. Like I would say the initial production probably took me around a month for each of them. And then going back and improving on them just took, some indefinite amount of time. Um, yeah, sorry, I don't, I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Yeah, that is a tough question. Like, how do you measure complexity, especially when like yeah, fair, fair.
Yeah. I
Well,
will say
cool.
this. Yeah, I will say this though. Like, I think rather than having like 8, decently sized projects, I would rather have a couple that are really impressive because you only have so much space on a resume, anyways. So you might as well make it look good.
Right. And if you list like, 8 on a resume and they pick one at random and it happens to be like one of your smaller projects, then that's a
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, fair enough. Well, cool. And I think we're probably at time and we ran through all my questions. But thank you so much for taking the time to share your story. And I hope it helps other people. I think it will. And yeah, congratulations on
Thank you.
accepting the offer. Monday, big day.
All right. Thanks, Luke.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.